Trigger warning, this video contains an extensive slagging off of Bethesda and Fallout 76. There has been so much outrage, uproar and drama surrounding Fallout 76 that I do not want to pour more petrol on the flames. So for once, I'm going to take a different approach in this video and simply present a calm and objective analysis, free from hyperbole and exaggeration, so that the viewer can evaluate the unbiased facts and make up their own minds about Fallout 76. So let's begin gently and see how it goes. AIDS, super volcanoes, killer asteroids, global environmental catastrophe, Ebola. All of these things represent very real and imminent threats to our culture and civilization. But the greatest existential threat to humanity, and more importantly, video games, is Fallout 76. I reckon I pitched that just about right. The saga of Fallout 76, make no mistake, is far from over. The game's beta, launch and reception have been an unmitigated fucking catastrophe. God forbid there ever really was an apocalypse, you could rely on the fact that in 100 years' time the survivors would be huddling around campfires, scaring their children with the horror stories of this video game and its disastrous launch. It would be a tale of hubris and fallen empire, like the poem Ozymandias. The good version, written by that druggy fella. On an almost daily basis, new problems, drama and betrayals are being exposed. Christ, Bethesda's no refunds policy on their broken ass piece of shit pseudo game is currently fueling the mobilisation of a class action lawsuit. But I'm going to take a snapshot of the car crash in its current state and try and pick apart some of the wreckage to see if there's something we can learn from all of this. I would also like to take this opportunity to give my very special thanks to Ricco and Tanisha for providing me with valuable in-game footage, because all of my footage was too shit to use, pointing me in the direction of news stories as they broke, and all-round moral support. I would also like to thank all of my supporters who've been tipping me off to events as they arose. I thank you humbly. I would also like to qualify now that until Fallout 76 I have been a fully paid up and mind-controlled fanboy member of the cult of Bethesda. I am not a hater. I just decided not to take part in the Fallout 76 mass suicide ceremony like the rest of the cult members. So let's take a look at the context of Bethesda's launch of Fallout 76.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River.
Bethesda is one of the most loved, respected and reputable gaming companies on the fucking planet. They have made some of the most popular, successful and critically well received games in history. Elder Scrolls Skyrim, Fallout 3, Dishonored, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Legend of Jack Sparrow. And they have now taken over franchises like Doom and Wolfenstein. They are a much loved brand, known for quality, ethics and respectability, in an industry increasingly festering in its own self-destructive greed. They have an army of supporters whose loyalty and blind faith far exceeds your average religious cult. I say this with authority. Until very recently, I used to be a member. There is a genuine ideological dimension to the Bethesda fanboy / fangirl phenomenon, and I mean that very literally and precisely. Bethesda, have the total undying loyalty of some massive YouTubers who founded their entire careers on Bethesda titles and therefore naturally feel beholden to Bethesda and Todd Howard. These creators are good people, and some of them are amongst the first YouTubers I followed regularly, and I consider myself a fan of several of them. But to date, they have generally blindly defended everything Bethesda has done, because thus far their faith in Bethesda has been both rewarded and mostly justified. Whilst their games are notorious for being completely riddled with bugs, and Bethesda barely giving a fuck about fixing them, the problems are usually resolved thanks to the logistical support of an army of independent modders from places like Nexus Mods, who religiously work for free to provide patches and fixes that Bethesda is too fucking lazy and arrogant to fix themselves. And such is their loyal support for Bethesda that when they started to monetize modding with the Creation Club and throw them a few pennies as a reward, barely anyone told Bethesda to go and fuck themselves. And they really, really should have told Bethesda to go and fuck themselves. Bethesda is also fronted by the ever-charismatic cult leader, Todd Little Lies Howard, a legend in the gaming community, a mascot of religious proportions, whose words are never questioned. Mostly.
We always start with the world, and this time it features all new rendering, lighting, and landscape technology. It allows us to have 16 times the detail and even view distant weather systems across the map.
When Fallout 76 was announced at E3, everyone was expecting something else, like Fallout 3 Remastered or maybe news on one of the other new titles. When Fallout Online was announced, the crowd cheered. Well, half the crowd cheered, and the rest were struck with shocked silence and disappointment. And when people pointed out and identified that lots of the cheering members of the crowd were fucking Bethesda employees, the loyal Bethesda fanboys ignored the implications of these facts. Bethesda had firmly and repeatedly established that they could get away with fucking murder. And that was precisely what they were about to try and do with Fallout 76. First off, let's just quickly establish that this game is fucking terrible. I don't want to spend the entire video trying to prove Fallout 76 is a bad game, because it's a terrible game. Besides, the internet is awash with evidence supporting and refining the hypothesis that Fallout 76 is indeed the biggest pile of shit and pig's guts to ever masquerade as a AAA video game. At this point in the debate, anyone with an ounce of common fucking sense understands that this game is very, very bad indeed, and the people insisting this game is good will never be persuaded by evidence nor rational debate. My first impressions of Todd Howard's now fateful quote of "make your own fun"
when they create their own fun
was this. The game ran like fucking arse. I couldn't interact with most items, which violated the game rules established by the 3 previous Fallout titles. Because everyone was hot-miking, thanks to there being no hotkey for VoIP, voice over IP, my dramatic opening experiences of the atmosphere of the game was accompanied by the soundtrack of 2 young gentlemen from South Africa, loudly and excitedly discussing, amongst other topics, sodomy. Then to add insult to rectal injury, they opened the fucking vault door before I even had a chance to press the button myself. Look, I've got nothing against Afrikaans, bro. I personally fucking loved the Antwoord. And Sodomy. But listening to that at the start of a Fallout game slightly broke the immersion. Although I wish I had fully appreciated at the time that listening to those guys discuss arse fucking was literally going to be the high point of my Fallout 76 experience. And it was going to be all downhill from there. I then emerged into the broken arse world of West Virginia, an unfinished asset flipped Fallout 4 faceplant where the game ran so badly I had to take a screen break after 2 hours. To put this in perspective, I can't remember having to take a screen break before in my life. Literally, 10 to 15 hour gaming sessions are not exceptional in my household. They are the norm. Screen breaks are unheard of. Fallout 76 ran so badly at launch, it was like staring at one of those optical illusions you see at a fucking science museum. At this point, there is no burden of proof on me. Fallout 76 is a shit game. Science fact. I played it and I think it's shit. The reviewers think it's shit. The customers think it's shit. Everyone on Metacritic thinks it's shit. Nearly all YouTubers not invited to the Greenbriers press event think it's shit. One of the YouTubers who did go now admits the game is shit. The people trying to initiate a class action suit against Bethesda think it's shit. The law firm investigating Bethesda for violating consumer legislation think it's shit. The Federal Trade Commission, who are investigating Bethesda, are concerned this game is shit. Bethesda has admitted that this game is a malfunctioning broadcast piece of shit. This game is so bad that Pete Hines bought puppies to hide behind on social media, made an ironic quip about soothing babies, and then fucking vanished. Because he knew Fallout 76 is shit. At this point, it's only the die-hard fans on the subreddit and social media, the guys attacking the critics, who think this game is good. Bless them. I admire their loyalty and determination. They're like the 300 Spartans defending the mountain pass at Thermopylae. Only nobody's explained to them that they're facing in the wrong fucking direction. And just to repeat that important point, in case you or the fanboys missed it, even Bethesda has admitted this game is a broken piece of shit. Not that the fanatics seem to fucking care about that fact.
続いてる気がする Concrete Road.
The TLDR is simply this. Instead of making the game Fallout 76 with a decent game engine and decent online PvP netcode and decent investment, they stoically made the worst design decisions at every turn. They asset flipped Fallout 4, including most of the existing bugs. They slapped a little netcode on it, left all the data client side, so mods still work, and you can cheat by just editing your game files in Notepad. They didn't add NPCs, they barely added a story, they retconned the lore, they removed all the fun, and just to piss in the face of the customers, they were so fucking lazy, they nicked a dragon from spare code in the game Skyrim and added that for lols. I'm not even taking the piss. But Bethesda certainly is. They were so fucking lazy, they added dragons because they couldn't be fucked to do work. This game is a monument to low-effort game development. The design philosophy of Fallout 76 is pure live service business model at its purest. Flip Fallout 4 and Skyrim assets because it's cheap. Retcon the lore instead of write a new story because it's cheap. Use the decade-old game engine because it makes development cheap. Reduce the beta to a minimum because it's cheap. No NPCs because it's cheap. holotapes instead of dialogue because it's cheap, no voice acting because it's cheap, notes instead of cutscenes because it's cheap. I mean, replacing animated NPCs and encounters and replacing them with writing on scraps of paper. I mean, what the fuck is this? A point and click game? It's fucking 2018. And this is Bethesda we're talking about. I'm sorry, but there is a compendium of bad design decisions that have been justified in all kinds of wonderful and dishonest ways. The commonality amongst all of these bad decisions is one thing. You ask the question, but is that decision also cheap? And the answer will always be yes. The game succeeds in one area alone. It's cheap. So how did the PvP work out in the end? Well, Bethesda may win an award for the worst PvP this decade. They set out to create an always online PvP Fallout experience, then shat their pants when the fans complained, and in a series of bodged, knee-jerk, split-second reactions, backpedaled their way over a cliff. PvP is an opt-in, normalised mess, where a fully optimised death machine can barely put a dent into you, unless you choose to opt into PvP by returning fire. Meanwhile, if said death machine is already engaged in PvP, a low level can sneak up behind him and practically pop his clogs with a fucking zip gun in the middle of the fight because of normalisation. PvP has failed. It has completely failed. The in-store microtransactions are an offence to the players and loyal customers too. I stress that any prices I give may have changed by the time this video is published. So let's take a look at some of the high value merchandise we can get in the Atom store and compare it to the cheapest real life alternative you can get from the Amazon store. Fallout 76 pyjamas cost you £5. Real life Amazon Christmas party pyjamas cost you £3. A Fallout 76 baseball cap, £5. An Amazon baseball cap, £2. Fallout 76 overalls, £5. Real life Amazon overalls, £4. So for a significant proportion of the in-game clothing, they're trying to charge you about the same or slightly more for pixels than the similar items cost to buy in real life. Not a piss take at all. They have now even started including limited time only items, retailing at insane prices like $16 a pop for a single outfit. And I have literally just been informed by an esteemed colleague that asset flipped cosmetics lifted straight out of Fallout 4 base game are now showing up in the Atom store with a fucking high price tag on them too. This is truly low. A lot of the store is full of insulting shit like logos for £1 and there's an emote for sale for nearly £3. Well, here is a free emote from me to Bethesda. There you go. That's on the house. Their in-game microtransactions are as offensive as they are overpriced. So let's quickly draw a line under the evaluation stage with a list of pros and cons. Pros. You can use the game disc as a stylish gamer drinks coaster for your desk. Bethesda are responding to customer complaints. 3 of my friends love it. That's it. I've got nothing else. I got nothing. So let's take a look at the cons. The experimental Bethesda launcher deleted the game off your hard drive if you tried to play it during the beta. They lied about the beta being a beta. It was a few hours early access. Fallout 76 is not technically a game. It's not fun. It's got more bugs than things that actually work. The voice over IP was hot mic'd at launch. There was no disabled functionality or even field of view options at launch. It's terribly, terribly, horribly boring. It runs like a crashed car. They have started banning people for griefing in a PvP game. So don't forget to say please and thank you when you murder someone and try and steal their stuff. It has horrific, overpriced microtransactions and a broken economy. The FPS ping-pongs so wildly I think it could possibly induce an aneurysm. The game engine is a decade old and not fit for purpose. It's a mod-friendly game engine, not fit for use in a PvP game. PvP data is held client-side, which should be a criminal offence in 2018 and makes anti-cheat a fucking impossibility. They have random radios everywhere, playing copyright-protected music, so streamers and YouTubers keep getting bashed with copyright takedowns. The microtransactions cost more than the real-life items. It uses asset-flipped dragons, stolen from Elder Scrolls Skyrim. That one is so bad I have to say it twice. It's Fallout, with fucking Skyrim dragons. The fucking endless downloads. Holy fuck, I don't know how many gigs it's been so far. It's got to be approaching 200 gigs by now with the auto-deleting beta included. They retconned Fallout lore so that it makes no sense. Then they got minions to trash the Fallout wiki with updated lore, making a joke of the wiki. PvP is fucking terrible. They bait and switch the canvas bag for a plastic nylon bag in a $200 special edition. Then their excuse was basically, yeah, we did that because profits and stuff, lol. They fucking flipped off people who complained about it with 500 in-game currency. That's about $5. They did, however, manage to scrape together enough pennies to fly hundreds of media influencers to the Greenbriers luxury resort and give them canvas bags amongst lots of other goodies. The end-user license agreement is a pernicious scam that forces you to sign away your consumer rights to a refund. The game is boring. The game is utterly broken. The game is worse than an early access game and costs 3 times the price. The sad reality is, though, I exaggerated the pros. There is no disc in the case. To save money, they only included the code on a bit of cardboard. Bethesda are completely ignoring my emails requesting a refund and are barely reacting to anything much at all being said by the customers. And only one of my friends loved it. And technically, he only said it wasn't bad. So yeah, the only thing I can say in defence of Fallout 76 is one person I know doesn't think it's shit. In the final analysis, some people will always support Fallout 76 and defend Bethesda to the bloody end. I get it. I used to be a fanboy myself who blindly defended every fucking bug and fuck up Bethesda made because I believed that they were essentially a good company run by good people making good games. But Bethesda has demonstrated that they no longer deserve blind faith. It's not good for them as a company and it's certainly not good for the consumer. Nevertheless, even if Fallout 76 was 10 times worse than it is, there would still be fanatics supporting it. Because some people's faith in Bethesda has reached religious proportions. I could go to E3, stand in front of a bunch of Bethesda fans, put down a plastic bag on the floor and shit in it. And if I tied it up and slapped a Bethesda sticker on it, you know that someone would eventually pick it up and take it home as a souvenir. Todd Howard could stand up on stage in front of Bethesda fans, holding a naked 14-year-old girl, and slit her throat with a razor. And most of the audience would probably cheer. You could paint a Bethesda logo onto a basketball and throw it into a minefield, and a bunch of Bethesda fanatics would YOLO right in there with mad fucking grins on their faces and pit boys on their wrists. That ball would be bouncing, the anti-personnel mines would be detonating, the air would be filled with blood vapour, shreds of blue Vault suit cosplay outfits, and chunks of fucking idiot, but they would still keep charging in to get first dibs on that branded Bethesda merchandise. And if by chance one of them did manage to crawl his now legless torso over to the ball and grab it, he would probably punch the air and shout, "Winning!" I understand. I understand because I used to be a fanboy too. Fallout 76 provided the evidence I needed to accept my folly and gave me the mental permission to accept being deprogrammed from the cult. I see where they are coming from because I used to be that guy. When I mock the zealots, I know deep down I'm mocking myself too because I've been that guy who would have run into the minefield. But fucking hell, if Fallout 76 can't shock someone into reality, then their belief has reached spiritual levels of unquestioning faith. And I'll tell you what, the hostility, anger, insults and hate I have received for simply calling out concerns about Fallout 76 prior to launch has only confirmed that I was right to leave the Church of Bethesda. It's genuinely a shock when a community you used to be a part of turn on you in a fucking instant and start to behave like you just walked out of the Westboro Baptist Church. I also think some of the conduct of some of the fan community and public relations tactics employed has been insidious and basically dangerous. There has been a concerted effort to discredit critics and the YouTube community at large. There are concerted efforts to turn a hostile mob against people that criticise this game. And it's not the first time I've seen people try and weaponise a fan base. The logic seems to be YouTubers are calling out Bethesda on their bullshit, so let's try and turn the fans on social media against YouTubers. Trying to whip up anger at the YouTube community and turn fans hostile is a dirty tactic, and whoever does it should be ashamed. I would go further and say that the Fallout 76 subreddit is now basically a hostile environment for anyone saying anything that is not glowingly positive. I saw a YouTuber there complaining that the in-game music kept getting him hit with copyright strikes, and there's no way of turning off all the radios, and he was getting his posts downvoted. Why fucking downvote that? I've seen people getting downvoted for asking basic fucking questions about Fallout 76 because people thought they were implying criticism. So much for healthy debate. This kind of tactic is being used more frequently by the gaming industry. They whip up a section of their fans into anger, then identify the critics of the product as the designated enemy, and then set their weaponised horde onto the victims. And I think they're going to carry on with this shit until someone gets sent a fucking pipe bomb or gets murdered. I've been on the receiving end of this kind of bullshit tactic before, and it's ended up with me receiving several death threats and a whole bunch of stalkers. Because sadly, some people are either too stupid or mentally vulnerable to appreciate that they're being used. They need to stop these reckless fucking tactics before someone gets seriously fucking hurt. You can see it happening right now with certain publishers trying to work the SJW movement into a absolute feeding frenzy and then, like a pack of wild wolves, set them loose on people who criticise their games for rewriting history in the name of microtransactions. These chumps actually think they're fighting for social justice, when really, They're fighting for shareholders and investors. All this aside, whilst I won't criticise anyone who likes Fallout 76, has fun with Fallout 76, and is having good times with their mates in Fallout 76, I think we've reached a point of consensus that it's a bad game and bad product. If you are having fun, then good for you. I do some pretty weird shit for fun too. But most of it costs a lot less than 70 quid, and it doesn't involve 8 hours of fucking downloading from the internet. This all begs the important question about Bethesda's corporate strategy, i.e., what the fuck is the metagame here? The entire project, including its launch and handling since, is a deliberate act of corporate self-destruction. In fact, the entire Fallout 76 project has been handled at every turn to maximise self-harm to the Bethesda brand and the brand of Fallout. I shit you not, I have gone beyond thinking this can just be stupidity and mishandling, and I'm starting to suspect that perhaps there's some kind of grand plan playing out on a corporate level. Bethesda is repeatedly doubling down on its mistakes, denying refunds, offering paltry compensation, ignoring customer emails, hiding on social media, slipping dirty subclauses into the end-user license agreement, making excuses about lying instead of apologising. They're constantly making the dumbest possible calls time after time. Bethesda seems intent on self-harm, and I want to know why. There must be some other agenda or pressure in the background here. There's some as yet undisclosed force pushing this stupidity forward. They are repeatedly doubling down on bad cards, like the Grim Reaper is standing behind them, waiting for his money and tapping his wristwatch. Something else must be at play here, and I really want to know what's going on with ZeniMax, Bethesda, and the whole corporate finances in the background. The current saga of Fallout 76 I don't think can be explained away purely in terms of bad decisions and mistakes. This is the charge of the fucking Light Brigade, for fuck's sake, only they're doing this every day for a month. Is the development of Starfield bankrupting Bethesda? Is ZeniMax, the company that owns Bethesda, in financial trouble? I just don't believe Bethesda is this incompetent. Then again, maybe they think they can get away with murder, and we are watching them test that theory to destruction right in front of our eyes.
I read on the internet that our games have had a few bugs. I did. I read it on the internet, so it's true.
I also think it's very, very sad and tragic how some of the fan community has reacted in all of this. They are missing a golden opportunity here. If the loyal Bethesda and Fallout fans had just simply rejected Fallout 76 as a mistake, as a fork in the road that should be ignored, it could have been dismissed and we could have all moved on to better things quietly. But Bethesda and their fanboy army instead have tried to bend reality to fit this bullshit product. In the process, retconning the lore and turning Fallout alternative history into a big fucking joke. And a fucking mess. And it's not stopped there. Overzealous fanboys have descended on the Fallout wiki, and instead of using it as evidence to either prove or disprove their case, they've just started editing it and rewriting whole sections of it to fit Todd Howard and Pete Hines' boshed together abortion of a game. Think about that. Instead of using the Fallout wiki as a historical document, they just trashed it and started rewriting the fucking thing to fit a narrative that got invented with Fallout 76 a few months ago. This is the video game lore equivalent of a book burning, and make no mistake, Fallout fanboys are acting like fascists about the whole damn thing. Fallout 76 has firmly split the Fallout community into warring factions, and divided one of the most friendly and welcoming gaming communities in existence. They have permanently damaged Bethesda's brand, permanently damaged the Fallout brand, and permanently damaged the community. As a long-term promoter of Bethesda, it's quite sad that I now associate social media profiles with pictures of people wearing vault suits with insults and hostility. These guys used to be my tribe.
Same tomorrow, regret and sorrow, can't take you home.
Fallout 76 is not fun. It's boring and barely a game. It's a box searching simulator. It's a having a shit time simulator. It's a trying to get a refund simulator. It performs significantly worse than some of the early access games from Steam I've been playing recently. Go and compare it to something like Scum. It's a fucking joke, and the joke is on the customer. And the most depressing thing about all of this is that as a live service game, the amount they will spend on fixing things will be a small proportion of the revenue. The maintenance is dictated by the income, and the income is shit. Welcome to games as a service. Since this game is tanking, they are not going to be spending much money on fixing this mess. The saddest thing I can say about Fallout 76 is that using an ATM to withdraw cash is a better video game experience. The ATM has a better UI. The hotkey layout is vastly superior. The ATM is far more reliable and for most people has vastly smoother graphics than Fallout 76. The ATM isn't running on 10-year-old software and can't be easily hacked by any user with basic writing skills. It's also much better value for money because you keep the money you take out of an ATM. With Fallout 76, you get to lose 70 quid. I have blindly supported and promoted Bethesda for longer than I can remember. But the sad reality is that playing Fallout 76 is an inferior video game experience than using a fucking cash point machine. Fuck, an ATM has a better storyline than Fallout 76. At the end of the day, I think a lot of positive will come from Fallout 76 in the long term. For a start, Bethesda now realises it can't keep pissing down everyone's back and telling them it's raining. The pressure is now on Bethesda to get its house in order, fix its reputation for bugs, stop lying to its customers and stop ripping off its own fans. It must make better quality product now because it has destroyed its community goodwill in the dumpster fire of Fallout 76. Also, many fanboys like myself have had the spell broken, and we're no longer giving Bethesda a free pass. And whilst we're on the subject, I think it's about time that Bethesda stopped exploiting its modding community, frankly. It's genuinely depressing to watch Bethesda try to go beyond EA levels of greed and contempt. Their microtransactional economy is quite literally a scam. They knowingly launched a broken game with a working microtransaction shop and have on multiple occasions sidestepped basic consumer protections using tricky contract clauses. People are so pissed this may lead to arbitration and eventually court cases. I really hope there is more to this situation than simply this. Bethesda took a long, hard look at what all the other AAA studios were doing with their live service, half-finished games packed with microtransactions and thought, we should try that out for lols. It's free money. Now, there are tiny baby steps occurring in the last few days that show that maybe Bethesda is at least beginning to grasp the concept of the severity of their consumer confidence crisis. As of Monday night, they tweeted, that they'll be providing canvas bag replacements to the customers who bought the Power Armor edition of the game. All they need to do now is start issuing refunds for people unhappy with the game itself. Although if you did apply for a refund directly from Bethesda, you're probably going to be a bit pissed off at the next bit of news. It has come to light as of last night that Bethesda has even managed to shit on their customers yet again. It appears they experienced a major failure in their cybersecurity and have been doxing all of their customers with open customer support tickets. Yes, that's right. People using the Bethesda customer service portal, it would appear, could log in and happily start browsing the personal data of other people with open tickets. Names, addresses, phone numbers, and some details of their credit cards were all there on display. This is quite literally the definition of appalling and adds an entirely new layer of betrayal to the manner in which they've let down their customers. Watching what Bethesda has done with the Fallout franchise with Fallout 76 has been like watching your best friend fuck your wife on stage whilst the rest of your friends sit in the audience and cheer. Everyone involved with this process has been in some way diminished. Apart from the guys selling the tickets on the door. They're making a big pile of cash. For me personally, I noticed a blatant clue that Bethesda had lost its shit with Fallout 76 and it's been laying out there in the open for everyone to miss. The shit-ass stupid emotes. For me, they represent blatant proof that Bethesda completely misunderstood the fucking point of what is at the core of the Fallout franchise. Happy emotes based on the Pip-Boy character Vault Boy. I mean, what the fuck? The whole point is that Pip-Boy emotes are ironic graphics. His chirpy and optimistic demeanour is supposed to be a complete counterpoint to the post-apocalyptical reality that the player finds themselves in. The Vault Boy is funny because the world has turned to shit and the animations on your Pip-Boy are still grinning, spunky and full of optimism. That's the whole fucking point. That's the whole fucking joke. That's why it fucking works. The second I saw Fallout 76 players pulling emotes in the game identical to the Pip-Boy, that was when I realised they'd fucked it. They don't understand their own game now. They don't understand what Fallout is about. And it would appear that they no longer understand their own customers either. But for now, good luck and happy hunting.